Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to a truly special online event today. It's called Dissolve Anxiety While You Dream, How Lucid Dreaming Can Help You Reduce Stress and Cultivate Inner Peace. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and our dreams are really underutilized in terms of their transformational potential. Given how much time we spend in dreamland, how can we actually make that a time that we're evolving, growing, healing, and ultimately really delivering on our larger mission here? We're going to get to explore some of the frontiers of lucid dreaming, how those can benefit your life directly and address things that you might not even think of with one of the world's pioneers in this area. His name is Charlie Morley. He's a best-selling Hay House author and Mind Valley lucid dreaming teacher. And he comes to lucid dreaming from a kind of a unique background that you'll hear about. And if you're excited by what you hear today, we have a brand new course with Charlie. It's called Lucid Dreaming to Reduce Anxiety and Restore Calm. And we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour. So with that said, Charlie, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I want to jump right in with your backstory, since I know you had a somewhat unusual path to this destination of teaching lucid dreaming work globally. So I want to share about that.
Yeah, so I got into lucid dreaming pretty young. For my 12th birthday, I wanted this thing called a Nova Dreamer, which is this like sleep mask, electronic sleep mask that you put over your face. And it claimed to be able to recognize the rapid eye movements of rapid eye movement dreaming sleep. And then it would flash these red lights, which were bright enough to penetrate your eyelids, but not bright enough to wake you up. And this would give you lucid dreams. And
My
I remember
brother had
reading
one of
this.
those. My brother
Ah,
had one.
okay. So later in life, I got a few, and they do work. They're like it's actually like a really cool device. But at 12 years old, I'm reading this pitch. It's in this like gadget magazine that we used to get in the UK Sunday papers. I'm reading this gadget magazine. I'm like, Dad, I know what I want for my birthday. It gives me those dreams that I have. Now, I didn't know the term lucid dream. Dad said I didn't say lucid dream, but I did say those dreams that I had. So I knew I was having lucid dreams and I wanted to have more. And that was like 11 years old. Then the story kind of dies for a bit. I'm not sure what happens. I just go back to being a kid, I guess. But then around 15 years old, then I know I get back into lucid dreaming again. I start hiring some books from the library about lucid dreaming at school. And I basically teach myself how to do it. It is a learnable skill. You know, some people have a natural predilection towards it, but it is a learnable skill. There is a protocol you can engage to have lucid dreams. So around 15, 16, I teach myself how to lucid dream. But this is way before I got into Buddhism or anything spiritual, right? So you imagine 16-year-old gains access to a huge virtual reality simulation where the rules of society don't apply. And it is super realistic and you can do whatever you like. I just did lots of sex and lots of skateboarding. My two favorite things at the age of 16, one of which I was doing a lot of in the waking state, the other not so much. I'll let you imagine which. So just like fantasy
That's very
fulfillment.
transparent of you. That's very transparent of you to say that.
But funnily, I did get very good at skateboarding. And later, when I became a lucid dreaming teacher, a lot of the research we've done is on athletes, showing that if you train in your lucid dreams, your athletic discipline, you can actually get better in the waking state because you're solidifying these neural pathways towards it. But anyway, I wasn't doing it for that. I was just sex and skateboarding, messing about. And then a couple of years later, I get really into Buddhism. And I'm getting it specifically Tibetan Buddhism. And I start seeing in some of these books this term dream yoga. I'm what's dream yoga? Some sort of like stretching that you do in your bed or something. I don't know what it is. And then I read up on it. I start asking these teachers about it. And they say, oh, it's the spiritual art of lucid dreaming. And I'm thinking in my head, spiritual lucid dreaming. Come on, I know what I use lucid dreaming for. There ain't nothing spiritual about it. And then they say, oh no, we use lucid dreaming to prepare for the moment of death. We use lucid dreaming to do our spiritual practice in our sleep. We use lucid dreaming to explore the empty nature of reality and how the mind creates whole vistas of universes that we call real. And I was like, wow, okay, that sounds pretty deep. So then 18, 19, I started getting some teachings on dream yoga because I had a pretty good practice, which was quite rare for a Westerner and rare for a young Westerner. So I managed to get some teachings from some pretty legit lamas. And then I ended up living in a Buddhist temple for 7 years. I ended up training with Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, who's one of the world's leading living masters of dream and death. And I trained with Rob Nairn, who's now passed. He was another brilliant pioneer in the field. And when I was 25, I got something called authorization to teach, which is kind of like a seal of approval from the lamas of the lineage that allow you to teach in temples, like kind of anyone can set themselves up as a kind of meditation teacher, but to be like a Buddhist teacher teaching in temples and sacred places, you have to have this thing called authorization. And luckily, I got authorization when I was like 25, which at the time I didn't really realize how crazy that was until now, 20 years later. And I think, God, what were they doing? Like, that was a kind of a controversial decision, you
It's
know?
like giving your 12-year-old keys to the car. I mean, geez.
Exactly. But interestingly, they did keep me under a lot of supervision. The first 3 years, I was teaching under the wing of Rob Nairn, and Lama Yeshe was keeping a very close eye on me. After a few years, when they realized I hadn't killed anyone yet, they kind of, let me do my thing. But yeah, so then suddenly, when I was 25, I was not a lucid dreaming teacher. I was making my living. I used to put on breakdance events. I used to put on the British Breakdance Championship. I was in like a moderately successful hip hop crew. So that's how I made my living, even when I was living at the Buddhist Center, actually. So then when I got the authorization to teach, it was, a very strange few years because I was still making my living working in the hip hop industry because I wasn't making any money from it, right? I was doing it all for free for Dana. But then after a few years, then I was able to, stop that chapter of my life, and my first book came out. And yeah, so who knows, right? Who knows how life's going to go? You think you're a guy who puts on breakdance events, then you end up becoming a lucid dreaming teacher. That's how life goes.
It's a fascinating pilgrimage you've been on to get to where you
Yeah,
are.
it was a
And
pilgrimage.
let's I want to just ask a little bit more about the Tibetan Buddhist lineage of sort of dream yoga and some of the lucid
Sure.
dreaming practices. Obviously, if you've been teaching in that lineage, so it's one of the more ancient structured approaches. What do you take away as like some of the sort of the key elements of using dreams really for spiritual awakening that they've uncovered?
Yeah, so you find dream work going all the way back to the time of Buddha. In fact, in the Pali Vinaya, which is like the rule book for monks and nuns, you hear Buddha telling his monastics to fall asleep in a state of mindfulness as a way to avoid nightmares and other types of dreams, right? So he doesn't use this term dream recognition or lucid dreaming, but it seems to be this encouragement to fall asleep with mindful awareness. But it's really in Tibet when the Vajrayana Buddhist teachings of northern India went up into Tibet, into the Himalayan regions about 1,000 years ago. And they met a pre-existing dream tradition in Tibet. Dream yoga didn't arrive in Tibet from the Buddhists. Dream yoga existed beforehand through the Bun tradition, B-O-N, which is the indigenous shamanic tradition of Tibet before Buddhism arrived. They already had a lucid dreaming practice. So when the northern Indian dream yoga practices came up into Tibet and met and kind of syncretized with the Tibetan Bun practices, you got this very interesting melting pot. And it was something unique to Tibetan Buddhism. Like you don't really have the same focus on dream work in like Zen Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism. You might have a great reverence for dreams and the possibility of them, but you don't really have that same kind of integrated protocol approach to how you can turn dreams into laboratories of spiritual awakening. That's something quite unique to the Tibetan Buddhist traditions.
Hmm. I love that term, laboratories for the spiritual awakening as well.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the principles of how you're sort of, do you have to have like a strong foundation meditation practices before you're attempting these practices, or you kind of co-evolve them with your own meditation practice?
Depends which lineage. So I've actually taken refuge in two lineages, the Kagyu and the Nyingma. And the Nyingma is the most ancient lineage, and they're a bit more kind of like open, like, yeah, if you can do it, you try it. The Kagyu are a bit more monastic. They're a bit more, you got to do this training before you get these teaching, this kind of thing. I'd say it's less about how much meditation training you've got before you start and more what your motivation is. Like having a motivation, what we call bodhicitta motivation, which is the motivation with the spirit of awakening, the motivation that you're doing something, not just for ego gain, not just for like, oh, cool, I can have lucid dreams as some sort of head trip, but you're training in lucid awareness for the reason, for the benefit of all beings. The reason you want to learn lucid dreaming is to make yourself a kinder human being. If that's your motivation, then you're ready to start dream yoga. I'd say that's more important. And a lot of my work that I do is actually less, it is about teaching people how to lucid dream, but more than that, it's teaching them why to lucid dream. The why is more important than the how. And if your why is infused with bodhicitta motivation, is infused with lack of selfishness, it's infused with a lack of egocentricity, which is, can I lucid dream to be a kinder human being? Then you're ready for the practices. I would say the motivation is the barrier to entry rather than any actual level of meditation.
So you don't really recommend the 16-year-old doing the sex and skateboarding. You're elevated things now.
If I could go back and tell that kid, I mean, he had a very good reason to practice lucid dreaming. So in one way, the motivation gave me loads of lucid dreams. But yeah, I wish I hadn't have wasted those 2 years. And I tell people when they first get into lucid dreaming, go, if you want to have a couple of lucid dreams of sex and skateboarding, go for it. But make it two, not 200. We have your fun and then get ready for the practice.
Uh-huh. So there's a period of preparation internally and consecration to kind of a higher purpose.
Yeah.
And so that's really sort of central, it sounds like, to your methodology. And how do you know that you're then ready to really start the practices when you feel like that your motivation feels fully aligned and pure and you're sort of getting the internal yes or
Yes. And also, you will get a very definite yes, because all of these lucid dreaming practices are simply knocking on the door of the dreaming mind. There's no way to force a lucid dream. All of these practices are just different ways of knocking. Hey, can I come in? Oh, can I come in? Oh, can I try the lock? Oh, what if I push it this way? It's just different ways of opening the door. But your dreamer will open the door to you. If your dreamer does not want you to have a lucid dream, you can be pushing and knocking and yelling and hollering all you like. You will not get through. And
Mhm.
I think that's really important to know. So sometimes people will be struggling to lucid dream. And I mean, I had this just last week at the lucid dream drop-in. A guy, he said, I've read all the books, I'm doing all the practices, I'm just not getting lucid. And the first thing I said to him was, what's your dream plan? As in, what's your motivation? What do you intend to do in your lucid dream? And he didn't have one. And I was like, yeah, you don't have a why. Like once your why is aligned with your higher purpose, you will start having lucid dreams. So I'd
Mm.
often say it's maybe not the technique that's not working if you haven't become lucid yet. Many people watching this might say, oh, I've tried some lucid dreaming before, but I never really had many lucid dreams. I'd say, what was the motivation? What was the alignment? What was the reason to have a lucid dream? If you're lucid dreaming just because, oh, I thought it would be fun, like a psychedelic experience, sex and skateboarding, you might have a couple of lucid dreams, but your dreamer's not going to be that kind of dialogue with the internal dreaming mind isn't going to be very open, isn't going to be very free. But if you
Mm.
start learning lucid dreaming because you want to integrate your childhood trauma, or if you want to learn lucid dreaming because you've got so much anger in your life and you want to find a way to be able to channel that anger into something constructive, to be a more kind human being to your friends and family, those kind of motivations, that will get you lucid.
Hmm.
So yes, it's an inner alignment, but also you'll know when you're aligned because your
Hmm.
dreamer will let you in.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a certain power that can be unleashed, and your higher self wants to make sure you're ready for that.
Absolutely. And this is why it's very hard to do anything harmful in the lucid dream. Like if you're in a lucid dream and you try and do something that would completely disrupt the balance of your mind, you just wake up. Like putting your hand into fire will automatically be withdrawn. And you see this when people said, oh, I was lucid dreaming and then I started to shoot everyone like I was in a video game and I just kept on waking up. Why was that? I'm like, yeah, because your dreamer was chucking you out. If you run around the lucid dream hugging everyone, you will have a very long lucid dream because the dreamer, that intelligence of the dreamer saying, oh, you're showing love to your internal archetypes. Wonderful. Stay, have a cup of tea. But if you
Mhm.
go in there and think it's just a video game, I'll go and shoot people, which I have come across. A lot of young people who play a lot of video games, a side effect of playing a lot of video games, I'm talking like 4 to 8 hours a day, is spontaneous lucid dreams. Harvard did 2 studies on this. Because if you spend a lot of time playing video games where it's a game, but you're engaging the avatar as if it were not a game, that kind of mind space comes into your dreams. So sorry to all the parents out there, but if your child is playing a lot of video games, it's actually good for their lucid dreaming. But unfortunately, some of those people who have those, they then apply the same rules of the video game to the lucid dream and they shoot things in their dream. And of course, it's them. Everything in the lucid dream is you. So if you commit violence to anything in the lucid dream, it's like punching yourself in the face. It's self-destructive. But if you show love to everything in the lucid dream, you'll stay in there for a long time and you'll have a lot
Mm.
of lucid dreams.
So clearly, you kind of end up with a multi-leveled sense of identity as you're doing this work because you've got your outer self, then your dream self, and then there's a dreamer that's actually orchestrating things and
Whee!
gatekeeping. So, you
You
want to share
really
just
see
a
the
little bit
layers of
about
the
that
onion when you
architecture?
start to lucid dream. Yeah, it's like because in a lucid dream you think, okay, so my body's asleep in bed. I'm now inside my own mind in this huge virtual reality simulation where I'm everything. Like I'm the me experiencing the lucid dream. Like if I meet you in my lucid dream tonight, I'll be the me experiencing the lucid dream. I'll also be you. I'll know it's not really Stephen unless you've somehow astral projected into my dream, but probably not. It's probably my projection of you. And then I might touch that plant behind you, and I'd realize the plant is me too. The fingers touching the plant are me too. You want an experience of oneness, of all this stuff these teachings talk about oneness, the oneness of all minds creation. Wow, have a lucid dream and just touch a plant. And in that moment, knowing that the fingers touching the plant being touched, and the air that you're moving through to touch the plant are all you. There is no separation. It's pure oneness. It can be really an experience of non-duality.
Mm. Let's talk about some of the other motivations. So it can be motivations for healing, for personal growth. What are some of the kind of the key motivations you find that sort of really open this landscape in the most auspicious way?
Well, one of the very interesting ones I'll mention, because we were just applied for funding to do a scientific study on this, is actually physical healing through lucid dreaming. Physical healing. A lot of anecdotal reports for this, but no one's managed to prove the science on it. It seems like there is if we pair it right back, not spiritual, just kind of scientific, it seems like there is a very powerful placebo effect that can be activated through a lucid dream. If you think about visualized healing techniques, like the Simerton technique, it's been shown to be very good for people with cancer patients actually, where you imagine colored light circling the point of inflammation. Let's say you've hurt your elbow or something, and then you might be calling out things like saying affirmations, my elbow is free of non-beneficial inflammation, this kind of stuff. That can have a real powerful effect in some cases. The lucid dream is a 100% visualization. You can't get more of a visualization than a lucid dream. It is literally made of visuals, right? So if you apply visualized healing techniques in a lucid dream, they can work very, very powerfully, very, very powerfully. And dissenters will just say, oh, it's just the placebo effect. But of course, if anyone knows about the placebo effect, to prefix it with something like just shows they don't know what they're talking about. You know, the only replicable aspect of all medical trials is the placebo effect. One great Buddhist teacher, Lama Alam Wallace, said, until you can explain the placebo effect, reality is up for grabs. Reality is up for grabs.
That's a great line.
Yeah. So maybe it is just the placebo effect. If we move to the spiritual side of things, if you ask my teacher, Lama Yeshe, why is it we can heal for physical ailments in the lucid dream? He would say very clearly, because in the lucid dream state, you have 7 times the power of mind. This is kind of mainstream Buddhist thought. 700% more healing capacity, 700% more power of mind. So any healing you're doing for yourself or others, any spiritual practice you want to do, any prayers you say, mantras you say, if you do it in the lucid dream, it's said to be 7 times more powerful than doing it in the waking state.
Wow.
So that goes for anything, sending healing to another, applying healing to yourself, doing your meditation practice. But it does seem possible. And I'd say if anyone does have an ailment they want to work with in the lucid dream, just try it. The worst that can happen is nothing. I'm not here to sell snake oil and say, oh, I can cure cancer through lucid dream. I've never heard of that. But I've heard of people work with menstrual cramps, tennis elbow, gluten intolerances. I did a shoulder thing. I tore my rotator cuff. There are things you can do in the lucid dream that will definitely speed up the healing capacity that already resides in your, that we can say.
No, well, it makes sense because there's so many, it's really clear that our conscious is very powerful over our physical body. And so it's like,
absolutely,
if you can amplify that 7 times,
yes,
you're in good shape.
Yeah. And I think some interesting ways people want kind of proof of how this might work is there has been a lot of studies done by the Sports Science Association of Heidelberg University, training athletes to lucid dream. And then basically you practice your athletic discipline in the lucid dream and you get better at it. I was part of one of these studies there. I'm really into kickboxing, like martial arts. And 81.3% of the kickboxers involved in that study got better at martial arts by training in their lucid dreams. Now, I was one of the 19% that did not get any better by training in their lucid dream, but I think that says more about my kickboxing capacity than my lucid dreaming. Or
maybe because you'd already been lucid dreaming so much, there was less of a difference.
Yeah, who knows? But that's crazy. 25 people in the study, 81.3% got markedly better at martial arts by training in lucid dream. Same with press-ups. You get someone to go in the lucid dream, do press-ups, and then you check the next day, their PB goes up. They can do more press-ups than before. This is nuts. This is the kind of stuff that makes me want to grab people off the street and go like, have you heard about lucid dreaming? It's real. It's real.
Yeah, it's amazing. I had not even heard of these things myself. So
it's crazy.
How about realms like creativity? I know a lot of folks use
so much. Yeah, a friend of mine, Dave Green, has just released a book called Doodles in the Dark. He is an artist who goes into the lucid dream state. He grabs a dream character and he says, draw me a picture. They then draw something, and then he looks at it, wakes himself up, and draws it in real life. And he has a whole art exhibition of, I mean, it's crazy, as you might imagine. It's like dream art, right? Some of it is just completely bizarre, but art that has been given to him from different aspects of his personality in a dream. I mean, this is insane. We've got people going to the lucid dream and calling out, let me hear an original piece of music I have never heard before. And then they're hearing this amazing music. They're trying to remember as much as they can. Then they wake up and compose the music. Like for art and creativity, we got decades worth of research on this. Again, if you think of the kind of iceberg of consciousness in the waking state, we're accessing that top 10%. In the dream state, bam, you got 90% of the iceberg. So if you're lucid in that state, not only are you accessing that 90% of the iceberg, but you're accessing it consciously. So you can actually ask, give me a creative idea. You can become lucid and call out, show me what career path I should take. And your dreamer will say something to you. It'll give you good advice. Yeah, it's kind of limitless, lucid dreaming.
Amazing. I want to ask you about there's one level where you become lucid and you're aware that you're dreaming, and then there's another level where you're actually designing the set, if you will, and the landscape. And so how do you start to access some of the deeper unconscious processes that actually construct the mindscape?
Yeah, so there are kind of levels of lucidity. Very often, lucidity is a light bulb moment. You're in the dream, completely lost in the illusion of the dream. Then suddenly your dead grandma appears. Hang on, she died 10 years ago. Oh, I'm dreaming. Bam. And you are 100% lucid. And in that moment, you have access to both retrospective, prospective, and present state memory. So if you're fully lucid tonight, you'll be able to go, oh, that's so cool. This is like what Charlie said in the shift video. So cool. You'll be able to remember what you did in the day. You'll be able to think forward like, oh, what do I want to do in my lucid dream? Oh, they said something about trauma integration. I'm going to give that a go. And of course, you have present state awareness. So full 100% awareness in the dream. But there's also like a light bulb moment where you can be like, a lot of people have this where they're lucid enough. They say, I know I'm dreaming, so I kind of change the ending. I don't like the ending, so I'm going to change the ending. Or they really like a dream. So they're kind of lucid enough to say, oh, I want to replay that again. They kind of double down on that dream. So there's kind of levels of lucidity. But with full lucidity, absolutely, you can, again, I don't use this word control. I have a problem with it. But you can influence the dream to a great degree. I think the control thing is important to mention, because this is to quote my good friend Robert Wagoner, brilliant lucid dreaming author. He says, just as no sailor controls the sea, so too does no lucid dreamer control the dream. It's a great image there, because no sailor would be arrogant enough to think they're in any way controlling the awesome power of the ocean. They're controlling their boat that navigates the ocean. They're not controlling the ocean itself. Same with lucid dreaming. We can control our subjective experience, but to think that we're in any way controlling the awesome power of the dreaming mind is to underestimate what we're dealing with. But what we can do is we can befriend it. We can become such good friends with the dreaming mind that you can be in a lucid dream and just go, apple, boom, and an apple will appear. And you can go pineapple, boom, and a pineapple will appear. You can go blackout, boom, everything goes black. You can say reform, bam, and it comes back. Like full control, and I'm doing inverted commas, big scare quotes here with my fingers, full seeming control, but it's not control, it's friendship. If I've known you like 20 years, and we're really good friends, you will want to help me. You will want to help me achieve my heart's desire, because we're best buddies, right? But if we've only known each other a couple of days, we're not kind of sure of our intentions, it's going to be more difficult. It's the same with lucid dreaming. But once you go in there and you make friends with your dreaming mind, you will have more direction, influence, choreographical control than you ever thought possible.
I want to back up a notch and ask about the actual incubation process. And a lot of people have, I often have this myself, kind of a dream blackout. And so how do you move out of that dream kind of blackout phase into sort of being able to sort of prepare your dreaming mind for this kind of work?
Yeah, the first thing to do is to work with not even lucid dreaming, but just dreaming, just communicating with your dreamer. I think it's important to note that everybody dreams. If you sleep, you dream. So if you slept last night, you definitely dreamt, whether you remember or not. There's actually no way of stopping the human brain from dreaming other than a heavy head injury or a stroke. And even then, the brain will kind of rewire itself within a few weeks and you'll start dreaming again. So if we're dreaming every night, why the hell aren't most people remembering their dreams? Sometimes it's as simple as, when did you last try? When did you last care to remember? And I've worked with people who have dream blackouts going like 10 years and they can last remember a dream. And it seems like their dreams are behind a brick wall, but they're not. Your dreams are behind a sliding door. Now think about if you push a sliding door as if it's a brick wall you can't get through. If you just pull back and just move that way, you just slide the door, your dreams are there, they're waiting for you. So one of the first things that we do on the in the course, and I can even share the technique now, is to connect your dreams, is to fall asleep with a really strong intention to remember your dreams. First thing, remind yourself, I am dreaming tonight. The second thing is sit on the edge of your bed and set the intention. Okay, I'm going to see if this guy's right. Tonight, I'm going to remember my dreams. And you set that really strong intention and see what happens. Most people, that can be enough to start remembering your dreams. But if you want to add a little bit more spice, then when you fall asleep tonight, you're going to pass through something called the hypnagogic state. Hypnagogic. It's that kind of transitional state. Where your eyes are closed, you feel like you're sinking through the bed. You can still hear the sounds in the room. You haven't fully blacked out. You're kind of the nodding dog thing, right? You're kind of falling asleep. That state, if you look at someone's brain when they're in that state, their brain waves are deep alpha and theta, which are the same brain waves of hypnotherapeutic trance. So essentially, your brain moves into hypnotic trance state as you fall asleep. But most of us are so sleepy, we miss it. But when you fall asleep tonight, if you can just hang out in that state, just don't pass through it too quickly. Just see if you can hang out there, acknowledge, okay, this is a hypnotic state of mind, and then engage what is essentially a hypnotic suggestion. Something like, tonight, I remember my dreams. I have excellent dream recall. Tonight, I remember my dreams. I have excellent dream recall. You fall asleep saying that over and over again, very, very high percentage chance that you will remember your dreams the next day. And when people first do it, they think it's miraculous. They're like, dude, it works. Like concrete evidence of results. When do you get that in spiritual practice? We kind of long for it, right? And I know as a Buddhist, I'm not supposed to be attached to that, but come on, it's so good when you actually see something working. And with this dream work, you see it working within a night or two. So it really gives you confidence. You're like, well, hang on. If I just ask to remember my dreams when I haven't remembered one for 10 years, hey, maybe I can have a lucid dream too. So you get these little kind of, these small wins that add up to big wins. And then eventually, suddenly this thing that seems such a big practice for special people, lucid dreaming, you realize lucid dreaming is for every person. It's not a special person thing. Children naturally lucid dream. We got a Harvard study and then a big study from the UK, British school children, ages 6 to 16. They found lucid dreaming was and I quote, spontaneous arising of childhood brain development. So we are natural lucid dreamers. Just as Picasso said, every child is born an artist. The adult's job is to remember how. Every child is born a lucid dreamer. The adult's job is to remember how.
That's a great thing to remember. Well, I know you wanted to take us into a bit of a guided experiential to meet the dreamer as a way to sort of really begin this journey for all of us, or deepen it for many. So how about we take some time and do that now?
Sure. Okay. So Stephen, the practice I want to offer is called Meeting the Dreamer. And this is a guided hypnagogic meditation, which means I'd invite people, if they can, and it's safe to do so, to lie down and close their eyes, allowing themselves not so much to meditate, in the waking state, but actually meditate in the hypnagogic state. So this is kind of like a practice similar to yoga nidra. So people might have experienced yoga nidra when they do a physical yoga class. And at the end, there's those best 2 minutes of a physical yoga class when the teacher might say, lie down in shavasana, corpse pose, and you lie down for a couple of minutes in that lovely sleepy state where you haven't blacked out, but you're just kind of edging into sleep. That's the hypnagogic state. And for this guided meditation, it's best done in that state. If you'd rather do it as a sitting, waking state meditation, that's totally fine. And even not as a meditation, just following along as a visualization practice, that's totally fine too. But if you'd like, I would encourage people to make themselves comfortable, lie down on the floor or a sofa or a bed, pillow under their head, maybe a blanket if they like, but you don't want to fall asleep. So you don't be so comfortable you fall asleep, but you do want to be comfortable enough just to edge into the shallows of sleep. And in this practice, I'll be asking you, first of all, to show gratitude to your body, to your mind, and to your dreamer. And you might think in the first few minutes, why are we doing all this gratitude stuff to our body? Why are we showing gratitude to our mind? Why are we showing gratitude to our dreamer? Well, in the Buddhist teachings, it's believed that gratitude short circuits the egocentricity of our limited sense of self. So that essentially, if you create a field full of gratitude, then that little ego mind, the one that causes us so much trouble, that egocentric sense of self, it says, hey, I don't understand this gratitude thing, so I'm checking out. So it kind of shifts back, giving you much more direct access to that powerful wisdom that resides in the dreaming mind. And that part of the dreaming mind, I'm calling the dreamer with a capital D, the dreamer. And the dreamer is what Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist, referred to as the conscious unconscious. You know, our dreams aren't random. They have a narrative. They have a beginning, a middle, and end. They have, just before your alarm goes off, you find out who the murderer is. You know, we've all had these dreams where we receive insight and teachings. The script writer, the director, the producer of those dreams is what I'm now calling the dreamer. So we're going to show gratitude to our body, gratitude to our mind, gratitude to the dreamer. And then once we've infused our body, our mind, and our dreamer with gratitude, we're then going to make a request. We're going to ask the dreamer, dreamer, how will you help me? And then I want you to imagine the dreamer answering you. So we'll say, dreamer, how will you help me? And then in that space, just imagine that you answer back on behalf of the dreamer. I will help you by, what does the dreamer say? Maybe I'll help you by giving you wonderfully vivid dreams. Then we're going to ask the dreamer, dreamer, how will you protect me? How will you protect me? And then imagine the dreamer replying, I will protect you by, how might your dreamer protect you? How might this part of your mind offer you protection? And then finally, we ask the dreamer a request. We say, dreamer, my request is, and then make a request to your dreamer. Maybe you request a lucid dream. Maybe you request vivid dreams. Maybe you request a nightmare that reveals and helps integrate some trauma from your past. Nightmares are not bad news. Nightmares are an internal therapy session. They're our dreamer sometimes at its best, trying to help when we're at our worst. So we'll make a request to the dreamer, and then again, we'll imagine the dreamer saying, yes, I grant you that request. So again, you don't need to remember any of that. I'm just setting it up so we know exactly what's going to go on. This will be a guided meditation. Follow my voice. It's set to music. Enjoy, and let's begin. Taking a moment to make yourself totally comfortable. Lying down if you like, or sitting upright. Moving your body into a position where it can relax deeply. If you can make yourself 10% more comfortable, I want you to make that adjustment now. Loosen that belt, scratch that itch, reposition that cushion. Make yourself perfectly comfortable before we begin. And now, if it feels safe to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. Allow your eyelids to feel heavy and to relax completely. I'd ask you now to bring your attention to the contact points of your body with the floor or the bed beneath you or the chair underneath you. Allow yourself to feel the support of the ground. Notice how the ground supports you lovingly, naturally. Feeling your body fully supported by the ground, I ask you now to come to an awareness of your breath. Just noticing when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. Breathe a little more deeply than usual. Noticing how the body expands as you breathe in and relaxes and releases as you breathe out. The body expands as you breathe in and relaxes and releases as you breathe out. And now, I invite you to show gratitude to your body, reminding yourself that however broken or ill your body may seem, it is always trying its best. However broken or ill your body may seem, it is always trying its best. I invite you to bring your attention to your feet and your legs. Take a moment to consider the amazing job that your feet and your legs do. They allow you to stand, to walk, to dance, to travel. Your feet and your legs are amazing. But when did you last say thank you to them? In your own way, in your own mind, say thank you to your feet and your legs now. Allowing your awareness to expand into your hands and your arms. Really feel into your hands and your arms. And take a moment to consider the amazing job that your hands and your arms do. Allowing you to touch, to hold, to feed yourself, to hug. Your arms and your hands are amazing. But when did you last say thank you to them? Take a moment to say thank you to your hands and your arms. Allowing your awareness to spread even deeper now into the core of your body. Your trunk, your digestive system, your respiratory system, your ever-beating heart. The core of your body is amazing. Allowing you to live, to breathe, to connect. But when did you last say thank you to the core of your body? When did you last say thank you to your ever-beating heart? Take a moment to say thank you now. And from the core of your body, allowing your awareness to expand now to include your head, so that you're completely aware of your body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head. Taking a moment to consider how this vehicle that you ride through life, however broken or ill it may seem, has always been trying its best. Say thank you to your body now. And from gratitude to our body, we now go deeper still. Bring your awareness, just as you did to your body, your mind. However broken or ill your mind may seem, it is always trying its best. This creator of reality, this filter of experience, your mind is amazing. But when did you last say thank you to your mind? Take a moment to say thank you to your mind now. And from your mind, I encourage you to go even deeper still, to the part of your mind that creates and plays out your dreams, the part of your mind representing the infinite creativity of your inner artist. We call this part of the mind the dreamer. We say thank you for the dreams. We say thank you for the nightmares that offer such learning. Thank you for the anxiety dreams that help prepare us. Thank you for the creativity. Take a moment to say thank you to your dreamer now. And with the offering of gratitude to our body in one hand, and the offering of gratitude to the mind in the other, we place these at the altar of the dreamer. And we prepare to ask our questions. Ask your dreamer, "Dreamer, how will you help me?" And now, imagine how your dreamer replies. Your dreamer replies, "I will help you by..." And now, ask the dreamer, "Dreamer, how will you protect me?" And then imagine how the dreamer replies, "I will protect you by..." And finally, we make a request to the dreamer. A request for lucid dreams. A request for vivid dreams. A request for a prophetic dream. A request for a nightmare. Whatever your request is, make it to the dreamer now. And imagine the dreamer replying in the affirmative. Imagine the dreamer saying, "Yes, I will manifest your request. Yes, I will manifest your request." And with that in your mind's eye, let the dreamer fade back into the landscape of your mind. And let awareness of mind fade back into awareness of body. And let awareness of body fade back into awareness of the room. Taking a moment to stretch your body. Taking a moment to gently move yourself back into waking reality. Opening your eyes, it feels good to do so. And then finally, dedicating any and all of the beneficial energy that we might have generated through that guided meditation to not only ourselves, but to all sentient beings. May we all wake up from the dream together, dreamers in the same dream, for the benefit of all beings.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for that consecration of this building of a relationship with our dreamer to the benefit of all beings. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, I know people are just kind of coming back into their everyday self now. And how do you recommend keeping that bridge alive as you start to build this relationship?
I think the really important thing to say is your dreamer doesn't just live in your dreams. You don't have to kind of wait to your dreams or wait to the hypnagogic state to communicate with the dreamer. They're listening to you right now. And right now, your dreamer is so happy. Because think, every night when you dream, your dreamer is trying to communicate with you. And generally in Western society, those are communications we either ignore or we debase by saying things like, it was just a dream. You're a dreamer. What does that mean? Nothing. You're dreaming. We use dream as a pejorative term. So the fact that you spent 10 minutes in direct communication with your dreamer, acknowledging their existence, asking them for a request, for a pledge, for protection, your dreamer is so deeply connected to you now. So don't feel that you need to wait till tonight to communicate with the dreamer. Those moments in your daytime where you feel super creative, where you feel like you're connected to something beyond yourself, that is connection to the dreamer. You know, the dreamer doesn't just work nights, the dreamer works day. And in the day, we call the dreamer the higher self. In the day, we call the dreamer our Buddha nature. In the day, we call a dreamer our creative intuition. It is the dreamer. It's that same intelligence. You know, it doesn't just work nights. So that's what I would say. Your dreamer is here right now, and you can communicate with them at any time during the day.
No, it's such
And in
an
fact, you
important.
do. When you feel
Yeah.
creative, that's your dreamer that's giving you that creativity.
Yeah, it's beautiful to really see the dreamer and the higher self and our deeper intuitions is all kind of
Yeah,
connected together. We've talked a little bit more about the Tibetan tradition since you're sort of an authorized teacher within that. Oh, are there other traditions that you wanted presence in terms of understanding the sort of the deeper lineage of this kind of work as dream work as a sacred practice?
absolutely. I think the other lineage I have most experience in is the Toltec Mexica. And I've done some practices and quite a bit of training in that with my friend Sergio Magana, who wrote a book called The Toltec Secret. And the Mexica and the Toltecs are interesting because their tradition is about as old as the Tibetan one. It's about 1,000 years old, this kind of historical lineages anyway. And they have some lucid dreaming practices that are so similar to the Tibetan practices, I couldn't believe there hadn't been communication between them. Now, historically, okay, there wasn't literal communication, but I think these guys are communicating on a different level. I mean, there's a Toltec practice, which is pranayama, you know, the blocking of one nostril, the breathing into the belly, the expelling through the other nostril, which is so similar to a certain breathwork technique that the Tibetans do that they got from the Hindus, that it's very hard to think there's not some sort of universal consciousness at play now. For the Toltec Mexica, they have a whole lucid dream tradition, again, using lucid dreaming like the Tibetans to prepare for the moment of death, as well as for spiritual practice and certain kind of shamanic manifestation practices. But that's a very interesting lineage. And I think with so many Hispanic and Latino people who are now getting interested, well, have always been interested, but especially in lucid dreaming, I found in the last few years, of course, it's wonderful to connect to the Tibetans. And also, it's wonderful to know that in that region, there is already a pre-existing dream tradition. And one of the practices that we're going to learn on the course is from the Toltec Mexica tradition. So we will have that in there alongside the Tibetan practices. And I think they deserve absolutely equal footing. Also, the Sufi tradition. There's a whole Sufi dream manual. And now, in Orthodox Islam, the kind of dream practices have been really sidelined. But if you look at the mystic elements of Islam that still exist in the Sufi tradition, they have full-blown lucid dreaming practices. Things like falling asleep, visualizing balls of white light in the center of the forehead, identical practice to the Tibetan one. Literally the same colored light, the same point. They just don't call it the third eye chakra. They call it something else. They've got a wonderful tradition. In fact, the Sufis have a whole way of interpreting dreams based on the elements. So like if you had a dream about a house burning down by a river, they would kind of ignore the house. They'd look at fire and water and look at how those elements are presenting. Was the fire greater than the water? And there's a way of interpreting the dreams based on the elements. There's so much stuff there. You know, we are a dreaming, I would say a dreaming culture. We're not a dreaming culture. We're a dreaming species. We used to be a dreaming culture. There used to be a whole dream culture that arose because we are a dreaming species. But we are so disconnected from it. We're so disconnected from it. And I think the way the West will reconnect back with dreams is through neuroscience. And we're finally at a stage now where neuroscientists are admitting dreams aren't meaningless. You know, when I first started 20 years ago, mainstream neuroscientific thought on dreams was that they were the random firing of brain networks. Now, thank goodness, 20 years later, actually that's fringe. People now go, oh, okay, no, there does seem to be some meaning on dreams. Not that they are meaningful, but that we can see a connection between what we do in the day and what we dream about at night. So they're not random. We know that there's some link there. And of course, all the research into trauma integration through lucid dreaming and other dream practices. But yeah, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
I feel
So
like
many
a
different, so
preacher
many
on it,
different
but it's
lineages. It
so
really is,
important.
yeah, really time to become a dream culture again. We had the central theme today around anxiety and cultivating inner peace. So we've thrown
Yeah.
a lot of different traditions together. I just want to kind of ground it back now. And it's like, how does all of this help us actually just really dissipate anxiety and live more calm lives in the midst of a lot of outer tumult?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I could say about like the practice of lucid dreaming is so empowering because you're training the mind to have the ability to influence the dream, which is often out of our influence, and that helps with feelings of confidence and stuff like that. Yes, all that great stuff, and of course the 7 times power of mind and the full potential of your spiritual power in the lucid dreaming. But at a really basic level, literally, anxiety dreams themselves can be transformed through lucid dreaming simply by our perception of them. And this is from science, not spirituality. In most cases, anxiety dreams are like fire drills. They did a very interesting study where they found people who had nightmares or anxiety dreams about high value life events going wrong the night before that life event. Actually, statistically, that life event went better than had they not had it. So, for example, if you've got a hot date or you've got a big board meeting or you've got a presentation at work, and the night before that big presentation at work, you have a dream that you're doing the presentation, you haven't got any pants on or something, or you go to the hot date and they look completely different from their profile. A kind of anxiety dream about it going wrong, or the classic one before you go on vacation, where people have the dream that they can't get to the airport, that the roads are blocked or something like that. And often we wake up from a dream like that and we think, oh, it's a prophecy. Oh, the board meeting's going terrible. Oh, the vacation's going bad. Oh, I shouldn't even turn up to the date. In fact, research shows quite the opposite. What it shows is the brain is acknowledging that's a really high value event for you tomorrow, that board meeting, or it's really important that you have that vacation, or really important that that date means a lot to you. So what the brain does is it will play a worst case scenario, a bit like a fire drill, not because that worst case scenario is coming to play, but so you're best prepared to meet it should it come to play. Once you look at that, you realize, wow, my mind loves me. Even the nightmares and anxiety dreams it gives me are trying to help. In the same way as when we go to a therapist will ask us questions that could be really triggering. But we pay money for that because in the safe space of the therapeutic dyad, the therapist saying, tell me what happened on that night, when that terrible thing happened. We pay money for that. We know it's good for us to be able to share that, to replay it in the safe space of the therapy room. The same is going on with nightmares and anxiety dreams. In the vast majority of cases, a nightmare is a sign of a healing mind. In the same way as when we cut ourselves, a scab appears. When we cut ourselves psychologically, a scab appears. And what is a scab? A scab is a protective barrier that forms over a wound to allow healing to occur beneath the surface. So too with our nightmares. When something traumatic happens to us, we are supposed to have nightmares about it. It's a sign that the mind is healing. And when we have anxiety dreams, in most cases, they are not prophecies of future doom. They're actually the mind saying, hey, this means a lot to you. So I'm going to run a few fire drills to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think just that full reframe of how we work with anxiety and nightmares not only affects our nightmares, but also the nightmare of waking life. When someone comes into our life and they're causing us anxiety and turmoil, we realize, okay, maybe this is the big mind trying to help me in some way too. And at a very practical level, you can lucid dream. You can use lucid dreaming to help work with symptoms of addictions, symptoms of depression, symptoms of anxiety, especially death anxiety. You can work in a very direct way.
Well, I love that we've gone from the deep, from the sort of the
sex and skateboarding to spirituality.
sex to the deep esoteric, all the way back to reducing the very practical as well. So you really cover a lot of terrain, Charlie. And I want to spend some time now talking about your upcoming course, since it's a really unique way to learn from you and really distill so much of what you've studied and practiced for several decades now and taught globally. So we're very blessed that Charlie's agreed to teach this brand new course for Shift. It's called Lucid Dreaming to Reduce Anxiety and Restore Calm. Soothe your overactive mind to create inner stability in uncertain times. You can find it at the URL healthroughdreaming.com, healthroughdreaming.com. It's a 7-week program. You don't have to have a background with lucid dreaming. So Charlie, you want to share some of your intentions for what folks will come away with from this program?
Yeah, my aim is that by the end of the 7 weeks, you have all the tools and techniques you need to learn how to lucid dream. My kind of specialty is taking people with zero experience in lucid dreaming and teaching them how to do it. I think this is why I do a lot of the scientific studies and stuff like that, because my specialty is people with no experience. However, if you have got experience, you've already got a dream practice, you are more than welcome to. And I can tailor the stuff for more advanced practitioners as well. But yeah, no experience is needed. I'll take you right from the beginning of what a dream is, let alone what a lucid dream is, all the way up to the high spiritual teachings we find in Tibetan Buddhism. And actually, 7 weeks, that's the best part of a couple of months. That is definitely enough time to create new habits of mind. And by the end of those 2 months, you will have transformed your mind. I can guarantee that.
Beautiful. Module 1 is called Discover the Foundations of Lucid Dreaming to Access Healing, Transformation, and Inner Guidance.
Yeah. So this is basically covering all the kind of what, why, how, and what the hell of lucid dreaming, and using loads of case studies. So I really like to give real life examples. So we'll learn about Matthew, the brilliant guy who healed himself of chronic depression through lucid dreaming. We'll learn about Roseanne, who was able to use her lucid dream to get information about her gluten intolerance that was affecting her life. We'll look at people who've used lucid dreaming to cure their nightmares and work with PTSD. We'll look at people who've used lucid dreaming to do their spiritual practice, so that by the end of it, you realize this is for everyone. These aren't special Buddhisty people. These aren't monks and nuns. These are everyday people who've learned this practice and transformed their life. So yeah, week 1 is probably one of my favorites, because by the end of it, people are literally excited to go to bed. You see people like at the end of the call, like, getting into their PJs. They're ready to roll. Yeah.
Module 2, create a personal dream plan to deepen lucidity and spiritual connection.
Yeah. So at the beginning, when I was talking about the most important thing about lucid dreaming is the why. Week 2, we look at the why. So what we'll do is we'll spend quite a bit of time. I'll ask you to bring some pens and paper, some art materials with you if you have them. And we will create a personalized dream plan, which is kind of like a vision board of the lucid dream that you want to have. You'll use writing, you'll use drawing, you'll use coloring and symbolism to create this vision board of the lucid dream that you want to have. And that's like a love letter to the dreaming mind. And you're literally going to fold that up, put that under your pillow for the next 2 months. So you're running the course, you'll take it out each night, kind of check through it, and then put it back under the pillow. And this is our intention setting for the whole 7-week course. It's one of the most important modules because, again, if you've got a good reason why to lucid dream, lucid dreams will come to you.
Module 3, rest in liminal to expand your consciousness and awaken your lucid potential.
This is the one, week 3. I want you to turn up in your PJs if you can, because we're going to be doing some very interesting practices, lying down meditation practices, napping practices, learning how to meditate when you first wake up in a state called the hypnopompic. All of those weird words, we'll find out what they mean. But this is about harnessing the power of rest, because actually learning lucid dreaming is also a brilliant sleep hygiene technique, because I'm going to encourage you to sleep more than you usually sleep and get more rest than you usually get.
Module 4, cultivate lucid awareness to transform your waking and dream life.
This is a daytime practice focus. People think that lucid dreams begin at night. You fall asleep, you do your special mantras and affirmations, and you have a lucid dream. That's one way. But actually, lucid dreams begin in the daytime. We tend to dream about what we do at night. We tend to dream about what we do in the day. So if you spend your whole day with blinkers on, tunnel vision, not being aware, not being focused, not expanding your awareness into this dreamlike nature of life, you will dream in the same way. You will dream with blinkers on. What I encourage we do is to live more lucidly, to be more aware, to be more open, to have more clarity in our daytime as a way of boosting what I call our lucidity levels, or filling up our lucidity tank, so that when we go to sleep at night, our lucidity tank is so full of awareness, it will flow over into the dreams. So this is about the daytime practices of lucid dreaming.
Module 5, heal your inner child through lucid dreaming.
Yeah, so inner child work through lucid dreaming is one of the most powerful practices we have. It's so powerful, I wanted to kind of dedicate a whole week to it. 2 of the most powerful archetypes when working with lucid dreaming are the shadow and the inner child. And we're going to have a module focusing on each of those. Whether you had the most idyllic childhood of your life, or whether you had trauma with a capital T in your childhood, dream work, and especially lucid dreaming, is one of the most effective ways to contact the inner child. Just like we contacted the dreamer, you can contact the inner child and engage deep healing at a internal level.
Module 6, work with your nightmares to access healing and conscious dreaming.
So we go from the inner child. Next week, we look at the shadow. So this will be looking at how we can reframe our nightmares and anxiety dreams. I kind of planted a few seeds a minute or so ago. Also learning direct practices to go in the lucid dream and actually transform our anxiety dreams and nightmares from within. We'll also be looking at the wider practices of Jungian shadow integration, because lucid dreaming is in and of itself a shadow integration practice. Once you become lucid, you are going to see your shadow. It's going to be there. So far better we meet it on our own terms than we get the surprise of our life when it turns up in our dreams. So we'll learn how to work with the shadow.
And finally, Module 7, integrate lucid dreaming practices to support lifelong spiritual growth and awareness.
Yeah, so this is our last week together. So I want to make sure you not only have the tools in the toolbox, but you know which tools to use together. You use the hammer, you can use the chisel. You put the hammer and the chisel together, then you got Michelangelo's David. You can create something beautiful. So this will be about how to bring the techniques into your everyday life. We'll also cover some of the spiritual topics there, because that last week I want to make sure that I drop a few knowledge bombs there of just how big this practice is, how it can be used for preparation for death and dying, which of course for many people is the ultimate nightmare that they dread so much. But through lucid dreaming, you can turn that nightmare into a lucid experience.
Beautiful. What an amazing program. And it's clear that you have just the perfect experience to not only make this the esoteric dimensions, but the practical dimensions, but also make it a lot of fun. So I'm
Oh,
sure people
totally.
are going to be in for a grand adventure here. There's
I
also a
have
few
no
other things
intention
about
of
it.
this not being fun.
Yeah. So again, it's all at healthroughdreaming.com, healthroughdreaming.com. I'll share a few other things about the program here. So you get not only the 7 90-minute live sessions with Charlie, which are going to include live interactive times, Q&A time. They'll also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, which are great to go back to, redo the guided visualizations and meditations, and also get the core teachings. There's word-for-word transcripts. There are weekly practices and exercises you'll be doing at home. There's a community group to support you and deepen your experience, as well as small group time to connect with other participants. And on the page, you'll also see a number of other really great bonuses. There's a PDF from Charlie called Dreams of Awakening, the Basics. You want to share more about that?
Yes, that's basically a couple of chapters from my first book, which is over 10 years old now. So I did a second edition a couple of years ago. So you'll get the bonuses from the new edition of the book. This is my soul is in that book. It says, yeah, really powerful practices for lucid dreaming within the kind of spiritual context.
Great. And then there's a second bonus called Circle of Protectors, Dream Recall After Affirmation. This is a video and audio from Charlie. Want to share more about that bonus?
Yeah, so these would be guided audios that you can basically fall asleep with my voice, guiding you through these practices. Now, if that sounds like a nightmare, you of course don't have to use it. But if it sounds like a dream come true, then you basically fall asleep, you download the track onto your phone, on your laptop, whatever, press play, and you fall asleep, and I'll be guiding you through certain affirmations. And the Circle of Protectors one is a really good practice about creating safety in your bed before you go to sleep. So anyone working with sleep anxiety, with nightmares, with a sense of lack of safety in their bed, Circle of Protectors is a really powerful practice.
Great. And then we have one special extra bonus that folks get if you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is called Dreaming Through Darkness, Our Dark and Golden Shadows. This is a PDF
Yeah,
from Charlie. You want to share more about the special bonus folks get today?
So this is shadow work. So I mentioned this, I think it's in week 5 in the course, we look at shadow work. Lucid dreaming is a form of shadow work. And it's a really great thing to do before you enter lucid dreaming, is to lay some of those foundations. What am I going to find in my mind? And often the stuff we're going to find there is that which we repress, deny, disown, which Carl Jung defined as aspects of the shadow. However, when people think of shadow work, they often think of all the scary stuff. I think of all the gold. You know, as Jung said, the shadow is 90% pure gold. So actually, a lot of the stuff that we hide within our mind are our hidden talents, our creativity, our spiritual self. So the chapters from that book will help you uncover those within yourself.
Well, what an awesome program. And it's clearly going to be such a blessing wherever people are starting on their own path of lucid dreaming. And we've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128. You save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start July 1st and run Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. Some beautiful testimonials from eminent teachers, spiritual teachers, students, business leaders, all really raving about the quality of his work. So you're in good hands, and you will have a real breakthrough in consciousness, and particularly around dreaming. And I think you're going to get some great healing benefits from this as well. So again, it's all at healwithdreaming.com or healthroughdreaming.com, healthroughdreaming.com. And you'll get that special extra bonus of Dreaming Through Darkness, our dark and golden shadows, when you register by midnight tonight. So, Charlie, thank you so much. You've really been a joy to be with today. A lot of fun and a lot of deep insight. Anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing the course?
First of all, just a thank you. Yeah, it's been super fun. This hour has flown by. Um, yeah, come join me. Have fun. Like, this is rare. I don't really do these. I do the kind of retreats in person. I do kind of online weekend workshops and stuff, but a 7 week online course like this, I haven't done for a long time. And this kind of integrated approach of each week, you're checking back in, checking back in, checking back in is a very good way to learn. We'll have a lot of fun. It'll be joyful. It'll be work. There'll be stuff to do, and you will see breakthroughs if you're prepared to do the work. So if your dreamer is calling you, if you did that guided meditation and something came up and you thought, wow, there's some gold in there, then please come and mine that gold with me and join me on the 7 week course.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie. You've been
Thank
a joy to
you.
be with. Thank you all for joining and look forward to seeing many of you upcoming program again, healthroughdreaming.com.
Thank you.